be like anybody watching this right now. At least definitely not right away. I also think Savon and them are live right now, which if they are, no one's going to watch us. But that's fine. They'll watch us later. Ricky, when was the last time you did a podcast? 2022?
It had to have been 2022. It had to have been.
Maybe one in 2023? Maybe.
Got it. Unless it was about the Open.
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, I'm not going to reintroduce you. People who know Ascend, especially... I mean, I guess we could reintroduce you. Because it has been a really long time.
Yeah.
Since you've been very forward-facing outside our Instagram. So, for anybody who does watch this and they're found Ascend post-2022, let's just start today's podcast with a very quick rundown of who you are.
Yeah. So, Coach Ricky, been with Ascend for... been in Houston for about 5 years now.
5 years,
yeah, and I have a very extensive background in CrossFit and weightlifting, and now I kind of branched out a little bit to go do the corporate stuff. Realized that was
lame.
So, and I mean, but it was good at the time. It was actually good to take a back seat and actually like see from a spectator's position to see the differences that CrossFit has made, both good and not so good. We'll just say that. And now back in the thick of it, and found a a new love, specifically from like getting hands-on with people again and helping people just reach their goals. So, but extensive background in weightlifting, specifically competing at a high level in CrossFit, and just goal setting. So
Ricky kept that very, very general, and I'm not going to go into everything, but just so people know that Ricky knows ball. Ricky has been to regionals back when that was a thing as an individual. He's been to the games multiple times on teams with a very notable brand called Invictus. So kind of in their heyday. He's coached athletes to nationals in Olympic weightlifting. He's coached athletes to the CrossFit Games. He's coached a team to the CrossFit Games. That was kind of our first interactions together. He was kind of coaching and I was helping write the programming for the team because he had a lot more of the hands-on experience and I was just a programming nerd at the time. So Ricky knows ball. For those of you who don't know, and he's not the kind to gas himself up. We're very similar that way, but Ricky knows ball. So
you come with me with goal, I help you reach goal.
He helped you reach goal.
Yeah.
100%. All right. We are going to talk about something a little bit different today, and you're kind of the perfect person that I wanted to chat about this with because we'll probably agree on 98% of this topic and maybe disagree on some of it, but it's something you and I have discussed multiple times since we've known each other. And I think we're both very passionate about, but it's also something that's difficult for us to work into training for CrossFit athletes. So it should be a fun kind of conversation. Also, you probably didn't see this, but unfortunately, I could not find a good picture of Blaine to use for the cover sheet of this. So,
yeah.
As good as that would have been for the cover sheet, because he is one of the most athletic people I think both of us have ever seen, I just found some like generic person like cutting on a field or something, and I was like, that'll work. So
insanely how athletic. Like I used to think I knew some like athletic people, but he was genuinely like the most athletic human I know. And then the stamping point with that was obviously people see what he's done on like YouTube and Instagram and stuff, but
yeah,
he picked up disc golf and within like 3 months or like 3 weeks
was gangster at it. Oh, I lost your audio, I think. Did you mute yourself? Well, he can still hear me, which is good. Ricky, I'm just saying you lost your audio and we lost our one viewer, so I'm going to blame you. Oh, I think you're back now. Speak.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now. That was weird.
But yeah, within 3 weeks, he just like starts shooting under par in disc golf, and I'm like,
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, we're talking about I mean, we didn't really say Blaine McConnell. Ricky knows him from back in the Invictus days. I don't I don't
and
think
great days.
I don't think his Instagram is Story Poppy anymore, which is sad because that was
No,
a
it's Blaine McConnell.
yeah, it's just Blaine McConnell. But if you all want to look at some freaky athletic stuff on Instagram, go check out Blaine McConnell, and he's a very very good coach and programmer. He does more the strength and conditioning stuff too, though. That's
And a
more
good
his
human.
jam. Yeah, he's a good dude. I met him briefly once at Wannapalooza. So, all right, so we're gonna talk today why CrossFit athletes, and we could parlay this into really all people in general. But I think we start with aspiring competitors or already competitive CrossFit athletes should be working on athletic development training within their program. We know, kind of setting the stage, athletic things are not really tested in CrossFit that much. Yes, we can say snatching and clean and jerking is athletic, definitely, especially the snatch, obviously. We can say gymnastics to some degree is a different display of athleticism. But kind of what we're talking about is more not necessarily the traditional athletic movements, but we're talking about agility work, maybe even some short duration sprinting, max effort jump variations, kind of those things, almost more traditional sport, field sport, athletic development work that has traditionally not been in a lot of CrossFit training programs due to the fact that even though we snatch and we do those things, 99% of what we do obviously takes place in the sagittal plane. Right, we're not moving through the frontal plane. We're never moving through the transverse plane, at least not on purpose.
No.
Right. So I think the best place for us to start is just kind of go through what are some of the reasons you see, or do we need to try to define athleticism first?
I think you need to define athleticism first.
Okay, so I'll go first, and I'm not going to have the most definition perfect answer to this, but I will do my best. The way I view athleticism is displaying coordination through multiple planes of movement simultaneously,
Yeah.
oftentimes while reacting to an external stimulus. That is kind of how my brain at the most scientific level defines athleticism, right? Is that
It's very
similar?
scientific. Yeah, and it's very scientific. Which
Yeah,
is
well,
part, of course, for you, very, very like, because a lot of people like train like. Granted, most people that are probably watching this, they're gonna be like, okay, transverse, plane. But then, like, let's say you get those one person, they're like, what does that even mean? You know.
right.
So, and I'll piggyback on that of like my definition of athleticism is the ability to pick up skills and strength and attributes of any sort of physical readiness and develop them in a person-dependent speed. So meaning like
Sure.
if you played ball sports growing up, your ability to probably do gymnastics because with your body and space is going to be probably a little bit better, right? Basketball players tend to have a good adaptation into CrossFit from a skills and even Olympic lifting standpoint, but their strength needs to develop, right? So it's like different levels of athleticism based on sports or exposure to things like growing up would be a very
Yeah.
basic explanation, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And I almost think our two definitions feed into each other,
Correct.
right? The more adept someone is at kind of moving their body through multiple planes of movement at one time in a smooth manner, you will be able to pick up a new skill faster,
100%.
right? So I think that's a pretty good definition of athleticism for us to work off of. It's difficult. Athleticism is such an interesting concept too because it's like almost everybody on planet Earth, like it when you see it, right? Like, and you also know it when you don't see it. But then it's like trying to describe what the body is doing through that can be very difficult,
Yeah.
right? So, all right. So, what are a few reasons outside of, let's say, outside of skill development specifically? What are a couple of reasons you think people should be training to increase their athleticism? And then I guess I think from there we can go into kind of the things you do to develop your athleticism in a very simple manner.
Mm. I mean, and you and I have talked about this before. It's like that's kind of I'll try to keep it broad because it's without the answer. It depends.
I'm sure we'll end up in a
Yeah.
rabbit hole at some point.
Yeah. Um, the one thing, and especially in a CrossFit setting, the one thing I would say that I probably use the most is, which I know you and I both agree on, and it's probably what we get from Blaine a lot, is just plyometrics. You know, we don't do that. CrossFit programming, weightlifting programming now is getting better about it, but it's been so long since doing plyometrics where it's become kind of now a staple for higher level athletes and just beginner athletes because bounding and jumping is very, well, one, fundamental, and two, it helps breed athleticism because you have to jump, land, and good core stability, know where your body is in space, and like you can jump side to side, up and down, backflip, whatever.
Important
I would say
disclaimer: double unders and 100 box jump overs is not what we're talking
absolutely not.
about. Let's just get that out there, because somebody would think that they're gonna be like, "Well, I do double unders." Like that is not plyometrics. I'm sorry.
There's not.
Like it's more akin to running than
I was about to
anything.
say like double unders to running is, if you're saying double unders are plyometric, then running is also a plyometric.
Which it is
if
not.
you want to get down to the nitty gritty,
Sure.
like very, very, like less than 5%,
Yeah.
sure. But other than that, um, is I would say it's not the same.
Jeff, drop this in the comments. This is a good. We'll get to this. You drop this in the chat. We'll get to hand-eye coordination because I think 100% is a big part of this, and also almost eye-foot coordination.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you and I obviously know, and like a lot of coaches obviously know, there's a whole host of adaptations that also come with plyometrics in terms of, reaction time, stretch reflex, change of direction, all of those things that are super valuable that we don't get a lot of. I think probably my two biggest reasons I've started trying to dose in very low level athletic development work for a lot of my athletes is, one, I think it's really valuable at in-person competitions. Even just like if you watch, a TFX or a Fittest of the Coast running from one station to another, like running across the finish line, running, a lot of times you have to run over an obstacle or run over a barbell, or there's obstacles on a long run event or whatever. I just think the more athletic development you have to go with your fitness, you're going to be able to traverse the floor in a smoother, more efficient manner that can help you edge people out for spots, right? And now, obviously, it's kind of workout dependent. If somebody destroys their legs, nobody's running across the finish line athletically. That's not what I'm talking about, right? And then the second kind of thing is, I think it has a lot of injury prevention value.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily wouldn't be the first order thought necessarily, I think, for a lot of people when they're thinking about putting in athletic development. But you're a little less likely to roll an ankle, a little less likely to tear a meniscus, a little less likely to blow your ACL out. Probably going to have a little bit less of a chance of popping an Achilles. I know we've seen several Achilles pops over the last couple of years People have kind of weighed in their 2 cents on that, which I think that could be a little bit of a deeper conversation with programming and things like that. And then I think a third thing for me that I've just reflected on personally and tried to observe a lot of athletes with, and I think you would agree with this because you played ball and field sports, and I grew up playing soccer the majority of my time. But an easy example is something like double unders. I've noticed people who played a field sport and they have more of a coordination with their feet, when they're doing double unders, they will know what their feet are doing when they're jumping. Like they have that awareness of what their feet are doing, so that if they trip or they feel the rope brush their foot, they're like, oh, okay, like my feet must be a little bit wide, or maybe my arms are drifting too far apart because I'm feeling the rope, right? Whereas you have athletes who maybe didn't play field sports, didn't do any, running, bounding, foot coordination work. They trip on a double under because their feet moved out or whatever, and you look at them and you're like, hey, do you know what you did? And they're like, no. Like, I just tripped. And it's like, okay, but why did you fucking trip, right? Yeah. So I think the enhanced body awareness, almost like gymnastics does a lot of that for the upper body, right? You have a gymnast come into CrossFit, they can handstand walk, they can do ring muscle ups, they're usually pretty attuned to snatching pretty quickly, all that stuff. But then we don't ever think about the benefits of that for the lower extremities, translating into CrossFit, right? So those are kind of like, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's like, I think too, it's
100%.
The reason why a lot of CrossFitters and people inside the fitness space don't really like work on athletic development is because, everything is so goal oriented and task oriented that we forget about, just the basics. Because I would say like jumping, throwing, landing, running are very basic, but in CrossFit especially, it's like you have so many different things that you need to get better at,
right?
That you forget the fundamentals.
Well, it's hard.
Well, yeah, and people only have so much time.
Yeah.
And I think there's a resurgence of like people finding things that they love that it kind of reminds them of like that when they were, growing up, or the sports that they played, to reintroduce that into their training. Because the CrossFit methodology and CrossFit programming works. Like it will get you stronger and faster. Will it help you catch a ball? Probably not so much. But like if people focus a little bit more on the basics of athleticism while incorporating CrossFit, they will become a super athlete.
So what you're saying is CrossFit's a strength and conditioning program?
100%. 100.
Whoa, that's crazy.
110,000. Because like, so I played softball in the Navy, and before that, like I couldn't one hop it to the fence. Like it would be more of like, okay, I can make it to like second base on a rope, and that's fine. I played center field, but then like through CrossFit when I started, I noticed like I was able to get the ball one hopper to home plate.
Yeah, because you were stronger.
Snatching is one of the best. Like I went from a 175 to a 200-pound snatch, and my arm strength got better.
Yeah, and you already knew how to do core to extremity from CrossFit,
100%.
Which is what a snatch is, right? 100%.
Yeah.
So,
and even in golf, this is a little nerdy thing, and especially with the Masters going on right now. It's like I went from like 220 carry to 245 and then a 265 carry.
I don't know what any of that means, but I'm happy for you.
Hitting the golf ball. So I used to only go into the air and only land 220 yards. After CrossFit, it's 260. Now 260.
That makes sense. Checks out.
Yeah.
Ricky has a deep, passionate love for golf, and I could not care less about the sport of golf. So we bicker about it every now and then. Core rotation, throwing the ball. Yeah. So and that kind of goes into part of what my definition was, right? Like multiple planes of movement at the same time. the obviously with CrossFit, you're not ever going to have to really react to an external stimulus necessarily. Like, you're not catching a ball, you're not dodging a punch, right? You're not trying to stuff a takedown, whatever. I mean, you could say that you're responding to an external stimulus on like rope climbs, or if the rings move weird, those things, but that's kind of
Wadapalooza in a storm.
yeah, fair. That's some external stimulus for sure. Okay, so we've kind of defined some of the reasons we think it's beneficial. Also, I guess one last thing to say that I think is beneficial is the fact that when you go play like pick up softball or pick up basketball, you won't look like a complete idiot. So, which is always nice because nobody wants to look like a dork when they're trying to go play a sport or throw a ball with their kid, right?
Well, too, I'm gonna cut you off on there a little bit. It's like I think CrossFit as a whole, like talking about like the 9 fundamental movements.
9 foundational movements, yeah.
Yes, like none of that is all strength and conditioning bias.
It's all
not
sagittal plane. Right.
All not athleticism biased, and
right.
there needs to CrossFit, and I think we're trying to do a better job, and that's why I think kind of like High Rocks is taking off too, is because it's like they're trying to find other ways to get to people that they will tend to, like doing High Rocks. Well, actually, if somebody's a soccer player, like doing High Rocks is going to be great.
Yeah,
100%. And even basketball players to an extent, because they don't get into a super like deep squat, but it's just like CrossFit could do a better job as a whole of incorporating athleticism for everything, or as like the foundation.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, this is so ironically, John Wood had a podcast he did. I know you're not as in on the Instagrams, but you might have seen it, where he I don't know if he did a full podcast on it or if he was just making some Instagram, but he's been talking about this recently. Like, we never test athleticism via your relative athleticism with your body, right?
Yeah.
Like, and he was making, and I've thought about this for a long time. We've talked about this before. We test kind of athletic power with the snatch and the clean and jerk. We don't ever test athletic power with max broad, max vert.
Yeah.
Which in the strength and conditioning world, they power snatch to jump higher. So like, we know those two things go hand in hand. It would be perfectly sensical to show up at a competition. You probably would still have a lift of some sort because people love to lift weights, but it would not be that out of the question to be like, hey, Max Broad, what's up? Right? And I also bet the person who wins the snatch would not win the broad.
Well, it depends. Depends on who it is, yeah.
If it's Guy Malheiros, yes. If it's Jack Farlow, no.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Right? Jack Farlow is wickedly strong. Or I could use Jacob. Like, Jacob is going to top 5 a snatch in almost any field he walks into at this point. I love Jacob, but I don't think we're going to top 5 abroad. He'll probably be top 10, but he's probably not going to be top 5, right? So,
yeah.
I think you top 10 it. But, so that's just a good example. Like, it's a similar stimulus of the system, but it's a different modality of displaying that, those physical characteristics. And to your point with the High Rocks, I think, obviously I'm on social media a lot just because of work, basically, and the fitness space. The two biggest rises in the online Instagram fitness space in 2025 was High Rocks and athletic training. Just regular people, because of guys like Blaine, Tim Riley, Jordan Shallow, the Muscle Doc. They were like, I want to train like an athlete. And these guys were doing it just because that's what they do.
Yeah.
And they've always trained that way. And that has exploded in 2025.
Because it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's so much more fun. It's way more fun than a High Rocks. But
yeah, well, even like it's people like right now just with CrossFit, rules changing like every year, like so right now, people just want some simplicity. Like, and you can like if CrossFit just gets simple in its season again,
Oh yeah.
then you
Well,
can change things. That's why Xenom is kind of like everyone like loves to think about Xenom as well because
right.
it's like, okay, I have a standard and I know what to train for. Yes, and I know CrossFit is all about like training for the unknown and unknowable, but
Mm.
it's like now you have to do that like all the time, and you still need some direction to
Oh,
keep everybody engaged.
and what's interesting too, I have two points on this. One, we used to do this zigzag sprint,
Yeah,
2015, 2014 games,
yeah.
the hurdles. Like we used to do this a little bit more. And I also the second point I was going to make is so many people we talk about the programming for the main season so much. Like programming is just so scrutinized at this point because you have a lot of people who are really good at it and the game has elevated to where the programming really really matters, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much and one of the criticisms a lot of the time is it just feels stale. Programming just feels stale. How much of a breath of fresh air would it be? Start at the games. If at the CrossFit Games they're like, hey, they announce it early, so this isn't necessarily unknown and unknowable, but they were like, hey, when you go to the games, you're running a 40. So get
That'd
your
be so
hamstrings ready.
sick.
Get your
That
hamstrings ready, right? They announce it right after like in May even. And so then even if you're going to a semi later, like I got to get my hamstrings right. I got to start figuring this shit out so I don't blow my hamstring if I make the games. What a breath of fresh air that would be.
I mean, it would be so
It'd be
dope too,
so
but
sick.
also the CrossFit as a whole needs to do, and we're trying to do it, and I know other gyms are trying to do it, so it's not just like but like that's the leader, CrossFit HQ,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sounds like if they do something like that, or even I mean, I'm against it, but I would still say this would be cool. The bench press, the 225 bench
Oh,
press,
the rep test? Yeah.
right? It's like that way we can get more involved with these sports and show like how much stronger, fitter you can get. And then CrossFitters get more athletic to a degree as well. And it's just like it's a long, livable ecosystem for everybody.
Kelly and I talked a lot during her season and then kind of a little bit even after. Like, how fucking sick would it be if we just did the combine for the first day? Or for the
I
first
mean,
half
that's
of
a
the day?
lot. That's a
Yeah, I
lot,
mean, maybe
though.
we don't do the full combine. You do like the bench, the 40, the vert, or the jump, and then maybe like the 5, 10, 15.
Yeah.
And they're like they're 25 points a pop, or even like 10, and you have a 50-point event. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't need to drastically necessarily impact. Like nobody needs to win the games because they won the 225 bench test,
Yeah.
right?
Agree.
But just sprinkling it in there, dude, viewership would be off the chain for that event.
And
It would be
then
crazy.
everybody would be programming combine stuff, and then you get more people coming in from all over, younger kids like, oh, I'm going to do CrossFit
They'd
to
be like,
get
I didn't
that.
know you guys did this,
Yeah. And then just
right?
like then you got a feeder program into like good strength and conditioning, places, but then also like kids are getting fitter earlier. Now, I'm not saying they need to do 225,
No.
that, but just getting into CrossFit gyms to see, how much stronger and better that they can get to when they do hit high school, college, and everything.
Jeff, I like where your head's at. Shooting is too skilled.
I like spear throwing.
Spear throwing. Shooting, I like the idea. I just like shooting is a skill. Like shooting is such a skill. Um, it would be like if me and Ricky went and did a competition and we were like, "Hey, you're gonna do 400-meter runs and then hit a golf ball." I could,
Yeah,
I could
definitely.
fucking smoke him in every run and he's gonna beat me because he knows how to hit a fucking golf ball and I don't.
Yeah,
So
I just need 7 iron.
Um, I do think another, and I feel like a lot of, I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the best coaches probably know this, but it comes back to an issue of time and relevance to competition. But I feel like 99% of CrossFit athletes, if you had them do a prep, like a good prep block for sprinting, and then you had them do a bunch of like 20-yard build, 20, 30-yard flies, they would all PR every single power variation of their Oli lifts.
And probably their overall list, yeah.
Right. As long as they could, yeah, deal with like the technique. Like these things are not one-way streets; they're two-way streets.
Yeah.
There's some transitory effect of training in those things for the power stuff, so, and it adds more variation, right?
Yeah.
Which I think you could make the argument unknown and unknowable. How fucking unknown and unknowable would it be if Dave was like, yeah, we're gonna do a 40 and a 5, 10, 15? Half the people who go to the games would be like, what the fuck is a 5, 10, 15?
Yeah.
Like,
no, yeah. Dave Castro, if you were listening, I dare you. I dare you.
So I have a theory on this.
And see how it stacks against NFL or even college kids.
So I have a theory on this, and then we'll go to the next portion of this because I want to give people some things they can do. Like okay, where do I start? Because obviously, like a lot of people haven't done plyos in a really long time, or they've never done it, so they're gonna have a hard time. So we can go to that next. But I thought about this driving to Albany. I think I was driving somewhere, and I remember having this conversation in my brain. How different would CrossFit be if Greg Glassman's right-hand man, when all this got started, wasn't a SEAL, and they were like a former collegiate or NFL football player?
It would turn into Blaine into
It would be Apex. Yeah, it would be Apex. Maybe, I mean, obviously with gymnastics and things like that, because those were foundational to Greg's methodology, right? But I think, obviously, I'm not saying this is a bad
and shout out
thing.
to Apex. Apex is awesome.
Shout out to Apex. Apex
We're
is
not
dope.
saying it's like, oh, Apex is like, oh, it wouldn't be CrossFit, it'd be Apex.
Yeah, I love that they're doing that.
Yeah.
But it's like, and I'm not saying this is as a negative thing about Dave at all. If you look at Dave's, like, yes, he programs heavy lifts, and he's programmed, very heavy, high complex things before, all of those things. I'm not saying Dave doesn't shies away from weight, especially when he programs.
Dave does a good job of programming.
He does, but there have been these like little trickles of like, I think his personal biases. Pendleton, long runs, the year at the ranch where they ran it and then he was like, turn around and go back. Like, you were in the Navy, I was in the Army. Like, these are very like similar things that you would see in the military, and we have not done a ton of sprint work, plyometric work, things like that, especially once we got out of the StubHub Center. And like, they had the sled sprints, they had the zigzag, like he did a lot of that stuff then, and that's kind of, I don't know for what reason, kind of filtered its way out. But it's an interesting thought experiment, because Dave really has been the guy who all of us coaches, competitive coaches, see what he tests, and then we program for those tests. Because to your point, there's so much shit in CrossFit. It's like, bro, at a certain point, the said principle does matter. Specific adaptation to impose demands. Yes, accessory movements are valuable and blah, 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 blah. But the more you snatching, the better your snatch is going to be. And when Dave asks you to snatch, you're going to have a better placement. It is not rocket science.
Yeah. But also, too, like, we are all products of our own biases, though. Right?
100%.
Like, but that's why I love our dynamic at Ascend in Greater Heights, is because, like, all of us have a respecting one another and agree on a lot of things, but we see other people's biases and we try to incorporate that across everything. Yeah, because if it's just me programming, all we're gonna do is we're gonna Oli lift, we're gonna squat, and we're gonna do thrusters, and then we're gonna do then we're gonna go play some sports.
And bro's never gonna do more than 50 toe to bar in a workout.
Yeah, no, and never. No. But that's just, like, that's the beauty of, like, all of us, is like we take each other's input and, like, oh, well, maybe that's a sidebar. It's like, maybe that's what Dave needs. He needs more.
Yeah.
He needs, like, He needs a Henshaw. I don't know, maybe that's a horrible idea, but he needs like a Henshaw. He needs like a Rich. He needs like a
Yeah.
Bosman. He needs like somebody to like, okay, let's put this together,
What did you
as a group.
say? What did you say the other day? Um, if you gave both of us like an athlete, I will get them fitter and better at gymnastics than your programming probably would, and you would probably make them stronger faster than my programming would.
Yes.
And I was like, yes, 100%. Like, I completely agree with that. Just because, like, you're going to program things in weightlifting that I'm going to be like, I don't know, right? And I'm going to program things with gymnastics and conditioning that you're going to be like, damn, really? I'm going to be like, fuck yeah, really, right? So if the games was more athletically based, would you say Hopper would be a multiple games time champion? Yes, 100%. 100%. Okay.
Now I think I would be careful with that though. Of um, like we're not saying it needs to be more athletically based. We're just saying like
No.
athletic development can help,
Right.
get somebody to a higher level.
Right. I don't think that the games needs to have. I think it could use a athletic test every 2 years, just to mix. Well, and I mean, if you're doing a games with 15 events, 12 events, 13 events, we can fit that in. And again, I don't think it should hold a ton of weight on the point scale necessarily.
Yeah.
Right? But to his question, if the games was more athletically based, would you say Hopper would be a multiple times game champion? Yes, 100%.
Well, also Rich proved that. Rich is very athletic.
Rich, I think, was the most athletic person in his time.
Yeah, and Tia to an extent.
Tia's very athletic.
Very athletic.
Very athletic. The thing with Hopper's athleticism. So quick Hopper thing, just because I feel like a lot of CrossFitters do not understand. You've been around athletes and collegiate athletes and things like. If you are a collegiate football player in the SEC in the United States of America, you are not a normal human. Even if you're not starting. You're not.
Yeah, he played for Clemson, which is ACC.
Yeah, it is ACC. But you know what I mean. Like, people just, you don't, like, he's very, very athletic. And the easiest 100%. Easiest way to see that he is the most athletic in terms of foot, like, agility and things like that, go watch Rogue when they do the sprint
baseball
event.
Thing?
No, it's the sprint event. So it's like they run, they go up and over logs, and then they have to like sprint across the floor or like sprint down and back, and then they have to like load some heavy sandbags. Like, yeah, he's super strong, and things like that. But conference bias is out of the way. That's funny. But it's like what is that event? The Duel. That's what it's called. Go watch the Duel the last couple years. He wins every time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and it's probably one of the more athletic tests we see ever programmed. So, all right, let's transition here and go into easy ways to start to develop athleticism or do athletic development work in people's training in the gym safely. Because pulling a hamstring's a real bitch, and popping one's a massive problem, so we don't want to do that. Same thing with a calf. I think I know the answer that you're going to say, but what is your kind of baseline, right? Like, if you were going to start programming for me today, even though you know I have some athletic development background, and you were like, all right, we need to knock off the rust, or we need to get you moving, what would you have me do?
Well, you probably know Pogo's number one. That's Pogo's forward for about 25 to 50 feet, depending on the person, their body structure, and their activity level. Just going forward, because also it's good for your entire lower body, but a lot of people it's also great core development as well. And people kind of forget that, and timing aspect if you're doing it correctly. So just basic pogos going forward, and then pace, and then pogos going back. So pogos, there's like it's pogos and bunny hops are very similar, except there's more flexion and extension in a pogo, where a hop is just kind of like moving along, right? So, those are the first two things. And even like in general classes, that is a great, great group class warm up that we could probably do even more so.
Mm-hmm.
So those are
Yep.
the first two things I would do.
Where would you go? Because I knew that was going to be your answer. Where would you go from there? So let's say like somebody's half decent at pogos, right? Where would you go from there? Would you go to like A skip, B skip, C skip, or would you go to like bounds?
Great question. You're gonna hate this answer. It depends.
It depends.
Right?
That's fine.
Like,
Go into it.
because if you have somebody who's a little bit more like who has a higher, you know, activity level and like have been exposed to it.
Oh, we lost your audio again. It's his first podcast back, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for him. Give him some grace. Nope. Now you're back. The best part is I know as soon as I told you that, you were like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Oh, that's so annoying. MacBooks, man.
It's all right.
It's gonna depend on the person and their exposure to it. Because if I have somebody that knows A skips, B skips, and knows how to drive through their foot, through their hip and knees, the correct way, great. I'm a big fan of just actual skips, like cherry picker skips.
Just skipping.
Skips for height and then skips for distance. Single leg, because that also is a great one into A skip.
Hey, you caught it that time though. Jeff, do you mean rotund like as in round? Are you self-describing as rotund? Anyways, your audio is back though.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know.
You're gonna have to mess with your headphones next time.
Yeah.
But skips, yes, I agree. I would say I think one thing that, because I have dabbled with some more plyometric work in my training in the past, and one thing I learned immediately through videoing myself trying to do like skips for distance, skips for height, bounds. Don't try to do it hard, because you're already gonna be doing it wrong. So then when you try to put like more effort or force into it, you're just gonna do it more wrong. because you're trying to develop that athleticism, right? It's like if somebody's trying to do technical work on their snatch, and they just try to be really fucking aggressive about it. It's like no, don't do that. Just do it smoothly, as smoothly as you can do it.
Yeah, bounds and A skips and B skips are actually super hard to teach for 60% of CrossFitters.
Yes, teaching
bounds especially.
Bounds are, dude. Doing bounds, especially bounds for distance correctly, is hard.
Yes.
and doing it like well, to where you're really like landing on that leg and then like driving, like it is hard.
And feeling springy.
Right. One thing that I have always been a big proponent of, and I used to do a ton in my training. Ironically, I would do a lot of it on Thursdays. I would just go to the gym and kind of dick off. Deceleration training, which in the simplest terms for most CrossFit athletes, the easiest way you can incorporate that in your training is depth drops. Yeah. Right? Like the higher of an object, and you don't need to go super high, but the higher of an object that you can fall from and land in a controlled manner without losing your balance, tipping forward and things like that, you're going to be able to deal with more mechanical tension and load in a active movement like a skip or a bound or a box jump or something like that. And I think having and developing that ability to receive that weight in the stretch, like through the stretch reflex, helps you not get injured as you incorporate these things. Helps you develop a lot of that awareness, and can be pretty beneficial. Like,
Skater jumps as well.
yeah, skater jumps are a really good exercise.
Skater jumps, but really when you land, I try to focus on like I don't really focus as much on the drive. I focus more on the receiving
Right.
and like to your point, deceleration, absorption, right? And of like staying on that foot and landing and not using my other foot or trying to fall, keep a good
Right.
balance. That's another good one because depth drops can be done incorrectly relatively quick too.
This is
So,
a great little like this is good, Jeff, and this is a great little point. Like, you don't have to overcomplicate it.
yeah.
Just jump side to side over a kettlebell a few times or a dumbbell, right? It doesn't have to be rocket science. Um,
Yeah, and just also too, I would say like four corner jumps, however you want, right? Just
yes. Dude, do you know something I thought about the other day because of our little personal thing that we've been playing with developing? And I don't know if you did these. I did them in high school. Did you guys ever do dot drills?
probably.
So we had these mats on the floor in our weight room, and it was like 2 dots, 1 dot, 2 dots. And every day in the weight room for wrestling during whichever conditioning, we would do like 2 feet, like bop 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 bop, and
Oh
then
yeah.
you would do in and out, you would do turns, you would do single leg, like that's so simple.
Yeah.
But most people cannot do that, especially on one leg, right? And that's a super easy thing. Like, it's not as much on the plyometric side, but that's more of the coordination development with the foot and with the lower body that can make a gigantic difference. And it's a great warm up, and it takes like 5 minutes,
Yeah.
right? It takes like
Yeah.
5 minutes. Okay, so let's go one step further. Okay, let's say so somebody's got the pogos, they're working on their bounds, they're working on their skips. What's another thing that you would give them potentially that would be a little bit more of a variation they could play with?
Well, I'm gonna leave your answer because I know what it's gonna be, but mine would
Do
be,
you?
yeah, you're gonna say flies, like
Nope.
that, like, oh, I will probably lean towards box jumps and jump and landing very softly and as high as possible. Not your, not a, not a task of just getting on top of said box,
Yep.
like actually jumping and driving and landing almost straight legged. Again, this is all in like learned from Blaine,
Yep.
and that really helped me. And that's something that everybody can use like at home on a box or a bench or whatever. And then start to see where some of the mechanics are kind of like breaking down, depending on their goal, right?
My two things were going to be one very in line with yours, broad jump, or depth drop to broad jump, or
Yeah.
seated broad jump. We jump onto shit all the time. Stop jumping
No.
onto shit. Jump over there.
We don't jump
Like-
on the shit. We just get on top of things because to your
Right.
point earlier, like
Correct.
the box jump, a lot of people aren't actually like jumping. They're just pulling their legs up.
Especially if you're tall. Like, let's be real. I'm 6'2". When I do a box jump, I do a half-ass knee extension calf raise, and then I just pull my legs up onto the box.
Yeah.
I don't have to jump that hard, right? 30-inch, I have to actually like jump some, right? And then the second thing, and I have a personal bias to some degree, is because I just really enjoyed them when I was doing them. And I don't even know what you would call these, but like switch skips, like switch lunges. Like where you're lunging in place, like rhythmic lunges, and you're trying to, and it's not, you don't switch the whole lunge. You hit your feet in the middle like a wedding step when you're lunging. It is so good.
Yeah.
And it's fun. And then you can slowly like load it, and things like that. Like, it's an exercise I got from Blaine as well. Like, he he was doing it with like the trap bar one day, and I tried it with a kettlebell, and I really enjoyed it. I think the two things we could give people to take away, one you already said, is when you're trying to develop athleticism, I think two sensations that you should be searching for in your training is, like Ricky said earlier, being springy, like feeling like you have a little bit of like pop to you. And then the one I would add is rhythm. Like rhythm. I think rhythm is one of the foundations of athleticism. And I think if you can, like that little like skipping lunge, rhythmic lunge I was talking about, like it helps you develop that rhythm. Even a depth drop to a broad jump or two consecutive broad jumps, there's a certain amount of like rhythm and timing to those movements. And I think like whatever variation or movement people can find to do that is right for them with where they're at, that they can do well to what you said. If you feel like you're being springy and you feel like you're developing rhythm, you're probably on the right track.
Yeah.
Right? Do you do any lunge into thruster? Oh, like from a lunge position and then pop up like into a thruster? I have not done that. That sounds terrible.
I have.
I saw at NCC last year they had the wall ball lunge, which I actually didn't hate as a movement. It was a wall ball. You just had to do a lunge and your knee had to touch the floor, and then you threw the ball up to the target. Honestly, I think the best thing about it was it took out the judging standard of the depth.
Yeah.
It was like, did knee touch floor? Yes. Did ball touch target? Yes. Fabulous. Lusters, he calls them. That's interesting.
Do you love them?
I guarantee I'm not doing those. Because I hate thrusters, so. Okay. I think that was a good kind of broad overview. I mean, there's obviously, we could talk about this a really, really long time, especially if we were talking about like, yeah, like how to periodize it or put it into programming or progress it, things like that. I think we kind of touched on this, obviously sprinting, but I think the big thing with sprinting, and the reason I didn't get on here and like toot the horn for people to go start ripping fucking flies and hundreds, is like you really need to make sure you're not going to hurt yourself. The eccentric loading through max effort or hard effort sprinting is just not a stimulus any of us get exposed to often enough. So if that's something you want to do, I think it's very important that you start making sure you're doing GHRs, Nordics, eccentric hamstring curls, eccentric RDLs. Like, get your hamstrings prepared and slowly dose that stuff in at sub-max efforts first before you go to the track and you're like, I'm gonna rip 100, because it only takes one, right? Like, I was playing with some sprinting stuff before the games this last year, just for fun. I ran 2 100s at probably RPE 8.5, and I was like, ooh, I feel my hamstrings, right? It doesn't take very much at that intensity to piss off a hammy. So,
what's like going straight into like 75% power snatch with like
yeah,
very minimal, like no duh, you're gonna
where it's like
great.
You haven't done ring muscle ups in a year because you took time off of it or whatever, and you're just gonna put your shoulder in a position it hasn't been in a year. It's like it's not rocket science, but something with the fact that it's just running fast. People think like, hey, just go run fast. It's like, maybe you shouldn't.
No.
Cool. I think we'll leave it there. This was fun. Ricky's going to be on the pod a lot more often, so everybody will get to watch the evolution of your podcast setup improve. Get some headphones. You need to get a pair of these. These are...
Yeah, it's just because it's on MacBook and it's trying to like
oh,
like, what is it?
That's
like,
weird. Oh, I see. Your phone.
I'm on my MacBook.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, but...
Yeah.
Cool. All right, dude. I appreciate you hopping on, and I appreciate Jeff being our commenter for the day. If you guys want to learn more or do some athletic development training, hit us up. Ascend Athlete. That stuff's be in the link in the description. I'm sure Ricky would love to make people faster and stronger, so, and more plyometric. So, cool.
Yeah, if you want to snatch more, 300 more too.
Yeah.
Or even hit a golf ball further. Let's do it.
True that. All right. Peace out.